5 minutes until the nursing exam doors close forever. Lily Morrison clutches her admission ticket, the only escape from poverty, the only chance to save her little sister's life. The testing center gleams just 50 yards ahead. But something's wrong on the street. A black Maserati wrapped around a fire hydrant. Steam rising. Inside, a pregnant woman in designer clothes slumps against the deflated airbag, blood streaming down her face. "Save my baby, please." Her swollen belly contracts violently. 7 months pregnant. Alone. In the worst part of Brooklyn. Why is she here? Phones emerge like weapons. Recording. Watching. No one helps. The woman's breathing grows shallow. Preeclampsia. Lily recognizes the deadly signs from her medical training. 2 minutes left. She stares at her ticket, then at the woman who might lose her child any second. Her future. 2 lives hanging by a thread. Sophie needs the surgery in 3 months. Without this exam, her sister will die. But this woman and her baby will die right now. Lily drops to her knees beside the car. "I'll save you and your baby." The admission ticket flutters away in the wind. She doesn't know it yet, but the woman she just saved is Serena Caruso, sister of the most dangerous mafia boss in New York, and her life will never be the same. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Share it with someone who believes in second chances, because the best stories deserve to be heard. Lily's hands worked with quick, sure precision. She checked Serena's pulse while supporting the woman's neck, keeping her head steady. Blood still seeped from the wound on Serena's forehead. But Lily knew it was not the greatest danger right now. Blood pressure, the baby. Preeclampsia could kill them both in minutes if it was not handled in time. With one hand she pulled out her phone and dialed 911, while her other hand kept Serena angled onto her left side to maximize blood flow to the fetus. Her voice came out clear and professional as she described the situation to the dispatcher. A pregnant woman at around 28 weeks, showing signs of severe preeclampsia, blood pressure appearing dangerously elevated, possible placental complications, maintaining a left side position to optimize blood flow. The dispatcher fell silent for a second before asking if she was medical staff. Lily swallowed. "I'm a nursing student. I was supposed to take my licensing exam today." Serena let out a low moan, her eyes fluttering open and then closing again, her hand clamping around Lily's wrist as if it were the only life buoy in the middle of the sea. "Don't leave me, please. I'm here." Lily squeezed her hand back. "I'm not going anywhere." The wail of an ambulance siren rose from far away, drawing closer with every heartbeat. The people filming began to drift back as red and blue lights flickered at the end of the street. Paramedics leapt out and ran toward them with a stretcher and equipment. Lily gave a swift, concise report of everything she had done and everything she had observed. They looked at her with surprise threaded through with respect. She climbed into the ambulance with Serena without waiting to be asked. When a paramedic moved to stop her, Serena cried out weakly, She stays with me." The ride to Metro General Hospital became a string of frightening numbers and the relentless beeping of the monitor. Serena's blood pressure kept climbing. The fetal heart rate began to turn irregular. Lily held Serena's hand, talking to her to keep her awake while the paramedics worked. Serena started to cry, quiet tears sliding down her cheeks and mingling with dried blood. "My husband is dead." Her voice broke. 4 months ago. They killed him. This baby is all that's left of him. All that I have left. Lily did not know what to say. She only tightened her grip on Serena's hand. She will be okay. They both will. Who was she? That someone would kill her husband. What was she doing alone in the Brooklyn slums with a 7-month belly? The questions spun through Lily's mind. But she did not ask. Not now. This was not the moment. The ambulance stopped with a sharp squeal of brakes. The back doors swung open. Serena was rushed into the emergency room, surrounded by doctors and nurses. Before they pushed her through the double doors, Serena caught Lily's hand one last time. She pressed something into Lily's palm. A glossy black card, heavier than any card Lily had ever touched. No logo, no address, no phone number, only a name embossed in silver letters. Caruso. "My brother will find you," Serena whispered, her eyes fixed on Lily with something fiercer than gratitude. "I promise." Then the doors shut. Serena disappeared down a corridor of stark white. Lily stood there alone, still gripping the black card. The blood had dried on her fingers. Her clothes were wrinkled and smeared with grime. The clock on the wall read 3 in the afternoon. Her exam had ended 2 hours earlier. There would not be another exam for 18 months. Sophie had only 3 months left. Lily looked down at the card in her hand. Caruso. What did that name mean? She did not know. Not yet. The bus ride home stretched on as if it would never end. Lily sat in the last row, her head resting against the cold window, watching the city slide past without truly seeing any of it. The black card lay in her jacket pocket, heavy as a promise she did not yet understand. The apartment complex in Brooklyn came into view in the dying light. Gray concrete buildings rising into a dim, overcast sky. She climbed 3 flights of stairs with legs that felt weighted with lead, the familiar stink of dampness and cigarettes pushing into her face. The door to apartment 3B opened before she could even reach for it. Sophie stood there, her big eyes red-rimmed, the oxygen tube still hooked under her nose. "How did your exam go?" Her 8-year-old sister's voice was full of hope. Behind her, Maggie sat at the kitchen table, still in her worn old clothes, her hands clasped together. She looked at Lily and understood at once. Lily's silence said everything. Sophie glanced from her sister to Maggie, and then her small face tightened. Tears began to spill. "It's my fault, isn't it?" Her sister's sobs caught in her throat. "It's because of the money for my treatment that you couldn't focus. It's because of me you failed." Lily dropped to her knees and wrapped her arms around her, feeling her own heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. "It's not your fault. Someone needed my help. I had to help them." "But what about me?" Sophie cried into her shoulder. "Who is going to help me?" The question drove straight through Lily like a knife. She had no answer. Night came slowly and without mercy. Sophie was asleep, the steady hush of the oxygen machine drifting from the back room like an unending reminder of what hung over their heads. Maggie had gone in as well after patting Lily's shoulder and saying you did the right thing, though her voice sounded hollow, as if she did not quite believe it herself. Lily lay on the old sofa bed, the ceiling stained with patches of mildew looming above her in the dark. She began to calculate. The next exam was 18 months away. Sophie needed heart surgery within 3 months. The surgery cost $200,000. Her hospital floor cleaning wages, plus waitressing tips, came to about $60 a day. She would need to work more than 3,000 days to earn enough. Almost 10 years. Sophie did not have 10 years. Sophie did not even have 10 months. Lily took out her phone, the screen flaring to life in the dark. She typed into the search bar, Caruso. Millions of results appeared, but nothing that mattered. Caruso Enterprises. No website. No company information. No address. No phone number. As if the name did not exist. Or as if it existed and did not want to be found. She stared at the black card in her hand, her finger gliding over the embossed silver letters. "My brother will find you." Serena had said that. "I promise." The rich promised a lot. They did not keep their promises. Lily had seen enough in her 27 years to know that. People who rode in luxury cars never remembered people like her. They stepped through the lives of the poor the way they stepped over a puddle in the street, forgetting the moment their expensive shoes dried. She should throw this card away. Forget it. Focus on finding another way to save Sophie. But Serena's eyes. Lily closed her eyes, and that image rose up, sharp and unmistakable. Dark brown eyes filled with tears and blood, looking at her as if Lily were an angel in hell. Not the eyes of someone who would forget. Not the eyes of someone making empty promises. There was something else there. 3 weeks passed like a nightmare that refused to end. At 4:30 in the morning, the alarm rang, and Lily jerked upright from the sofa bed in the dark. She pulled on her janitor uniform and walked 7 blocks to Metro General Hospital to make her shift at 5. The same hospital where she had brought Serena, the same corridors she had once walked with the quiet hope that one day she would walk them in real nurse scrubs. Now she mopped floors here. She pushed her cleaning cart through the emergency department, watching nurses rush back and forth with faces set in focus and clear purpose. That should have been her. It would have been her if she had not stopped beside that black Maserati that day. A doctor snapped into his phone about a patient's condition, and Lily knew he was making the wrong call. She wanted to speak, to point out the mistake, but she was only the one who cleaned the floors. No one asked the floor cleaner for an opinion. At 2 in the afternoon, she ran 12 blocks to Ruby's diner, because bus fare had become a luxury she could no longer afford. Ruby did not bother to look up when Lily walked in. Ruby said Lily was 2 minutes late. Lily did not explain. She tied on her apron and started carrying plates. Hot food, bitter coffee, the exhausted faces of laborers and taxi drivers. At 8 at night, Ruby counted the tips and tossed Lily $63. 14 hours of work, $63. Lily walked home in the dark, her feet throbbing, her back feeling like it might split. When she reached the apartment, she cooked instant noodles for Sophie and Maggie, then pretended she had already eaten at the diner. Every day like that. Every week like that. Then the letter arrived. Lily was wiping down a table at the diner when her phone vibrated. A message from Maggie. There was a letter from the hospital. "Come home right now." Lily asked Ruby to leave early and ran the whole way back. Maggie sat at the kitchen table. a white envelope already opened in front of her, her hands trembling. Lily picked up the letter and read it, and it felt like someone had driven a fist straight into her chest. Sophie's condition was worsening faster than expected. The surgery needed to happen within 6 weeks, not 3 months, 6 weeks, 42 days, $200,000. In 42 days, Lily stood there with the letter in her hand, feeling as if the ground beneath her was giving way. Maggie's voice came from behind her. Maggie said they would find a way. They always found a way. Then there was a heavy thud. Lily turned and saw Maggie on the floor, eyes squeezed shut, face drained of color. "Grandma," Lily screamed, dropping to her knees beside her. Exhaustion. That was what the emergency room doctor said after examining her. Maggie needed rest and proper meals. Proper meals. As if that were easy when they had to choose between rent and food every month. That night, after bringing Maggie home and making sure Sophie was asleep, Lily sat alone on the fire escape stairs. Cold wind threaded between the high buildings, carrying the stink of garbage and exhaust. She cried. For the first time since the day she missed her exam, she let herself cry. No one saw, no one heard. Only Lily in the darkness and the desperation that was swallowing her one piece at a time. The black card was still in her jacket pocket. Caruso, a name that did not exist. A stranger's promise. She had nothing left to lose. Then let them come and find her. The next morning, Lily was clearing tables at Ruby's diner when she felt something shift. The air inside the place changed all at once. Customer chatter died in mid-sentence. Construction workers and taxi drivers stopped chewing, their eyes turning toward the front windows. Lily looked up and saw it. A gleaming black Rolls-Royce sat parked directly in front of the diner, out of place in the poor neighborhood like a diamond dropped into a garbage heap. The kind of car people only saw in movies or glossy magazines. The kind of car Lily would never have enough money to lay a hand on in her entire life. The door opened. 2 men stepped out, both in perfectly tailored black suits, both with faces cold as stone, their eyes sweeping the diner as if they were searching for a target. Lily's stomach tightened when their gaze stopped on her. Ruby came out from behind the counter, still holding a dish towel. "This is not a place for you." She tried to sound tough, but Lily could hear the tremor hiding underneath. The 2 men did not bother to look at Ruby. They only looked at Lily. The taller one, with black hair slicked back and a faint scar running along his chin, spoke. "Lily Morrison." Not a question, a statement. "Who are you?" Lily set the tray down, her voice steadier than she expected. The man stepped closer. "I am Luca. The boss wants to see you." "What boss?" The man smiled, but the smile never reached his eyes. "The only boss in this city you need to know." Lily took 1 step back. "I am not going anywhere with strangers." Luca tilted his head, his eyes sliding around the diner once, then returning to her. "That is not an invitation, Miss Morrison. That is a summons. And I suggest you make this easy for everyone." Lily's hands trembled slightly, but she did not move. "What if I refuse?" Luca sighed as if she had asked something foolish. "You have a sister named Sophie, 8 years old, congenital heart disease, needs surgery within 6 weeks. Your grandmother is named Margaret, 72 years old, admitted for exhaustion yesterday. You live in apartment 3B, on the 3rd floor, in the complex on Atlantic Street. Do you want me to keep going?" The blood in Lily's body turned to ice. They knew everything. They knew every detail of her life. She had no choice but to nod and follow them out to the car. The interior of the Rolls-Royce was even more lavish than she had imagined. Cream-colored leather seats, the scent of expensive wood, a minibar stocked with bottles whose price was probably equal to a full year of her rent. Lily sat still, back straight, eyes fixed on the window as the car glided past streets she knew, then pushed into Manhattan. The scenery changed by degrees. Crumbling buildings gave way to towers that cut into the sky. Cheap diners vanished, replaced by fashion storefronts with names Lily had only heard on television. Then the car turned into the Upper East Side. Old mansions behind wrought iron fences, green gardens kept immaculate. The world of the rich. A world she did not belong to. The car stopped before a massive iron gate, at least 4 meters tall, with glossy black spikes along the top. A security camera angled toward them. Luca said something into a microphone at his sleeve, and the gate began to open, slow and deliberate. A stone-paved drive led to a mansion Lily could describe with only 1 word. Fortress. Gray stone walls, bulletproof glass windows, and men positioned throughout the grounds. They wore black suits and dark sunglasses, and Lily could clearly see the unnatural bulges beneath their jackets. Guns. All of them had guns. Where was she? What world was she stepping into? The car stopped at the main entrance. Luca opened her door, his courtesy so polished it felt almost like mockery. "After you." Lily stepped out, her shoes meeting the marble path. In front of her, enormous oak doors opened slowly, revealing a vast foyer hung with a crystal chandelier and lined with classic paintings. "Who am I going to meet in there?" Lily asked, her voice reduced to a whisper. Luca stood beside her, his eyes on the doorway with something that looked like reverence. "The man no one wants to meet, and no one can refuse." Luca led Lily through the grand foyer, their footsteps echoing on the marble floor. She tried not to look around like a country girl seeing wealth for the first time, but it was hard not to be overwhelmed. The oil paintings on the walls were probably worth more than the entire apartment building where she lived. The crystal chandelier glittered overhead like a miniature galaxy. Everything here radiated power and money, the kind of money Lily could not even begin to imagine. They stopped in front of an oak door at the end of the corridor. Luca knocked twice, then pushed it open. "Boss, she's here." A voice came from inside, low and cold as steel. "Let her in." Luca stepped aside and signaled for Lily to enter. She drew a deep breath and crossed the threshold. The room was vast, lined with bookcases that rose to the ceiling, a massive walnut desk, and floor-to-ceiling windows looking out onto the garden beyond. But Lily saw nothing except the man standing with his back to her at the window. He turned around, and Lily stopped breathing. A face that looked carved from stone, features sharp and angular to the point of cruelty, black hair slicked back, revealing a high forehead and a faint scar that ran from his temple down across his left cheekbone. But the most frightening thing was his eyes. Gray, cold, like steel tempered in ice, eyes that pierced straight through her as if they could read every thought, every secret, every fear she was trying to hide. He wore a black three-piece suit with no tie, the top 2 buttons of his shirt open to show a glimpse of his chest. Everything about him spoke of power, not the power of money, the power of a man who could decide who lived and who died with a simple nod. "You are the one who saved my sister." His voice held no emotion. It was not a question, it was a declaration. Lily swallowed, forcing her voice to stay steady. "Yes, I'm Lily Morrison. I know who you are." He walked to the desk, picked up a folder, and opened it. "Lily Morrison, 27 years old, born and raised in Brooklyn. Mother died of cancer when you were 12. Father left the same year, raised by your grandmother, Margaret Morrison. You have a sister named Sophie, 8 years old, congenital heart disease, needs a surgery costing $200,000 within 6 weeks. He looked up at her, those gray eyes still ice-cold. "You are enrolled in the nursing program at Metropolitan School of Nursing. You were supposed to take your licensing exam 3 weeks ago, but you did not. Currently you work as a janitor at Metro General Hospital and as a waitress at Ruby's Diner. Average income $60 a day." He closed the folder. "Did I miss anything?" Lily felt as if she were standing naked in front of him. He knew everything. Everything about her miserable life. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice reduced to a whisper. "Vincent Caruso." Lily realized she had been holding her breath. Caruso. The name on the black card. The name she had searched for 3 weeks without finding a thing. Now she understood why. This man did not want to be found. "Why did you bring me here?" Vincent did not answer right away. He circled the desk, each step slow and deliberate, like a panther moving toward its prey. He stopped less than 1 meter from her, close enough that she could smell expensive cologne and something else beneath it, something dangerous. "You saved my sister's life. You saved the life of my unborn niece or nephew. You gave up your exam, your future, your only chance to save your sister. To save a stranger." Lily said nothing. She did not know what to say. "Why?" Vincent asked, his gray eyes drilling into her. "Why did you do it?" "Because it was the right thing to do," Lily replied, her voice steadier than she expected. "I couldn't stand there and watch 2 people die when I could do something." Vincent stared at her for a long time, as if searching for a lie in her answer. Then he spoke, his voice strangely quiet. "No one does that. No one gives without demanding something back. What do you want from me?" Lily blinked. "I don't want anything." Vincent tilted his head, his gaze sharpening. "Everyone wants something. Money, power, a favor. You saved my sister. You have to want something in return. I didn't know who your sister was. I didn't know who you were." Lily felt anger beginning to rise in her chest. "I saw a pregnant woman bleeding and I helped her. That's all. No hidden motive. No scheme. Just the instinct of an ordinary person when she sees someone who needs help." They faced each other in silence. The room seemed to grow heavier with every second. Finally, Lily spoke. "I have a question." Vincent folded his arms across his chest, a gesture telling her to go on. Why was your sister in Brooklyn? Alone, with a 7-month belly, in the most dangerous neighborhood in the city? Vincent did not answer immediately. His jaw tightened, and for the first time Lily saw something other than coldness in those gray eyes. Pain and rage. Someone wanted to kill her. Vincent's voice dropped lower. She was hiding. Who? Lily asked, not understanding why she needed to know. The person I trusted most, Vincent answered, and then fell silent. He offered nothing more. No explanation, no details. Only those 6 words hanging in the air, heavy and threatening. Lily looked at the man in front of her, the boss of an underground empire. The man no one wanted to meet, the man no one could refuse. And also a brother trying to protect his sister. A man betrayed by the person he trusted most. Miss Morrison, Vincent said, pulling her out of her thoughts. You're very interesting. Lily did not know if it was a compliment or a warning. For the first time she saw the corner of his mouth lift. Not quite a smile, but close. And for the first time, she saw that the darkness behind those gray eyes ran deeper than she had imagined. Vincent turned his back and walked to the window. The late afternoon light fell across his face, picking out the scar on his cheek and making his gray eyes look brighter, colder. I have an offer for you. Lily stood perfectly still, her heart pounding inside her ribs. She did not know whether to hope or to be afraid. Probably both. Your sister needs heart surgery. $200,000. Within 6 weeks, Vincent spoke without turning around. I will pay the full cost. The best doctors, the best hospital. Sophie will have the surgery within 2 weeks. Lily felt her knees go weak. She had to grip the back of a nearby chair to stay upright. $200,000. A sum she would never earn in an entire lifetime. And he said he would cover it as if it were loose change in his pocket. Also, Vincent continued, his voice still even, as though he were reading from a contract. A full scholarship for your nursing program, the best school. No need to wait 18 months for the next exam. I can arrange for you to take it again within a month. Lily opened her mouth, but no sound came. She felt as if she were dreaming, a dream too beautiful to be real. And finally, Vincent turned to face her. A new apartment for your family, in Manhattan, full security. Your grandmother will have a private caregiver. Sophie will have her own room, a garden to play in, clean air instead of the stench of garbage and dope. Silence settled over the room. Lily felt tears gathering, but she forced them back. She could not cry in front of this man. She could not let him see her as weak. What is the price? Her voice came out rough. Nothing in this world is free. What do you want from me? Vincent watched her, those gray eyes reading every flicker of expression on her face. My sister trusts you. Serena trusts no one. Not doctors, not nurses, not anyone who comes near her since her husband was killed. But she trusts you. He stepped closer. I want you to be Serena's private nurse. Care for her until she delivers the baby. Make sure she and the child are safe. Is that all? Lily asked, unable to keep the suspicion from her voice. That is all. Lily looked around the room. At the expensive paintings, the bookcases rising to the ceiling, the bulletproof windows. At the armed guards she had seen everywhere when she came in. She knew where she was. She knew who Vincent Caruso was, or at least she could guess. The expensive cars, the armed security, the mansion built like a fortress, the man no one wanted to meet and no one could refuse. This was the underworld. This was the mafia, and she was being invited to step inside it. You are a criminal. Lily said it plainly, her voice steady even though her heart was not. You kill people. You traffic something illegal. I do not know exactly what, but I know you are not an ordinary businessman. Vincent did not deny it. He only looked at her with a strange expression, as if she had done something that surprised him. You know who I am, and you are still standing here. You are not running. I have nowhere to run, Lily answered. My sister is dying by inches. My grandmother is exhausted. I have no money, no future, no choices. She stopped and drew a deep breath. If working for you can save Sophie, I will do it, but I have conditions. Vincent raised an eyebrow. You are making demands of me. I will care for your sister. I will keep her and the baby safe. But I do not touch anything illegal. I will not help you kill anyone. I will not help you torture anyone. I am a nurse. My job is to save people, not destroy them. The silence stretched. Vincent stared at her, his gray eyes giving away nothing. Then he nodded. Fine. You are a nurse. Nothing more, nothing less. I do not need you to kill anyone. I need you to keep my sister alive. He held out his hand. Deal. Lily stared at that hand. The hand of a mafia boss. A hand that had probably squeezed a trigger, had probably signed death sentences for more people than she could imagine. But it was also the hand offering her sister a chance to live, offering her grandmother relief, offering Lily herself a future. Sophie had only 6 weeks. Lily had no other choice. She took Vincent's hand. I agree. His hand was warm and firm, closing around hers with just enough force to make her understand there would be no turning back. The agreement was made, not with ink on paper, but with blood and trust. Welcome to the Caruso family, Miss Morrison, Vincent said, his gray eyes catching a glint of something Lily could not read. She had no idea what world she had just stepped into. Everything changed so fast that Lily felt as if she were living inside a dream. Just 3 days after meeting Vincent, her family had already moved into a new home in Manhattan. Not an ordinary apartment, a penthouse on the 12th floor, with a balcony overlooking Central Park, gleaming oak floors, and wide glass windows that welcomed sunlight every morning. Sophie darted everywhere like a small bird finally released from a cage. Her sister bounced onto the cream-colored leather sofa, ran into her own bedroom and ran back out again, eyes bright with happiness. Sophie told Lily that her room had a window looking out on green trees, that there were real trees outside the window, not concrete walls. Maggie sat in an armchair by the window, silent tears sliding down her cheeks. She did not speak, only stared at the new apartment with an unbelieving gaze. All her life she had lived in poverty, and now, at 72, she was sitting in a penthouse worth millions of dollars. Lily swallowed her own tears and reminded herself that this was not a gift, this was a deal, and she had to hold up her end. On her first day at the Caruso estate, Luca brought Lily to Serena's room. Lily knocked and heard the familiar voice from inside telling her to come in. Serena lay on the bed, her pregnancy close to 8 months, her face still pale, but her eyes lit up when she saw Lily. Serena said Lily had come, that she knew her brother would find her. Over the next 2 weeks, Lily spent most of her time at Serena's side. She took her blood pressure, checked the fetal heart rate, made sure Serena ate well and rested on time. But more than that, she listened. Serena was lonely, and it showed in every sentence, every look. She talked about Marco, the husband who had died 4 months earlier. Serena said he had been the light of her life, her hand stroking her swollen belly, that he had sung to the baby every night, that he had chosen the baby's name, Marco Jr., and that whether the child was a boy or a girl, he wanted the name to be after him. Lily held Serena's hand, not knowing what to say. There were wounds that words could not soothe. Yet as Lily and Serena grew closer, there was one person who seemed determined to vanish from Lily's life. Vincent Caruso. Every time Lily stepped into a room, he stepped out. Every time she appeared in a hallway, he turned and went the other way. He never spoke to her, never looked at her, as if she were an invisible ghost. 1 week passed, 2 weeks. Vincent's silence began to trouble Lily in a way she could not explain. At last she asked Serena if her brother hated her, if she had done something wrong. Serena stopped reading the book in her hands and looked at Lily with a sadness in her eyes. Serena said no, he did not hate her. Lily asked why. Then, he avoided her like the plague. Serena sighed and set the book down. Serena said it was because he was afraid of Lily. Lily could not hide her surprise and asked what was frightening about her. Serena said he was afraid of caring about anyone. Serena said the last time he did, Elena died. Elena, that name again, his wife. Serena nodded and said he had loved her more than his own life, and when she died, a part of him died with her. Since then, Serena said, he had not allowed himself to care about anyone again. He built a wall around his heart. And Lily, Serena told her, was cracking that wall. Lily did not know how to respond. She fell silent, her thoughts spinning. That evening she walked past the living room and stopped when she saw something she did not expect. Vincent was sitting on the floor, holding Marco Jr., a baby only 2 weeks old, in his arms. He was singing a lullaby in Italian, his voice low and warm, and so gentle that Lily could not believe it belonged to the same man who had looked at her with eyes cold as ice. Vincent's face had softened, the hard angles dissolved, leaving only a man loving his small nephew with everything he had. Then he looked up. Gray eyes met Lily's blue eyes. For an instant she saw something there, something warm and wounded at the same time. Then the wall rose again. Vincent stood, carefully laid Marco Jr. back into the crib, and left the room without a word. Lily stood alone, watching his back disappear beyond the door. Now she understood. He did not hate her. He was protecting himself, building walls so he would not have to endure one more loss. Lily did not know why that made her feel sad. Sophie's surgery day came faster than Lily expected. She sat in the waiting room at Mount Sinai, one of the best hospitals in New York, a place she would never have dared to dream she could set foot inside. Maggie sat beside her, fingers locked around a rosary, lips moving with silent prayers. Sophie had been taken into the operating room early that morning, her small face pale, yet she had still tried to smile at Lily before the doors closed. "Don't worry. I'll be okay. I'll get better so you and I can go play in Central Park." Those words echoed in Lily's head through the first hours. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. The clock on the wall seemed to mock her with a slow ticking that felt like torture. Maggie grew too tired and drifted off in her chair. Lily stood and walked out into the hallway, needing air, needing space to breathe. She found a quiet corner at the far end, slid down to the cold floor, pressed her back to the wall, and cried. She cried from fear, from helplessness, because for 8 years she had tried to protect Sophie, tried to do everything so her little sister could have a better life. And in the end, Sophie's life still rested in other people's hands. All Lily could do was sit here and wait. Footsteps sounded in the empty corridor. Lily wiped her tears quickly, not wanting anyone to see her like this. But when she looked up, she froze. Vincent Caruso stood in front of her. He did not speak. He only watched her for a moment with gray eyes she could not read. Then he sat down beside her, his back against the wall, and held out a cup of hot coffee. Lily took it, too stunned to say anything. They sat there in silence. 1 hour passed. 2. Vincent said nothing. He did not ask if she was all right. He did not offer hollow comfort. He simply stayed beside her, a steady presence in the middle of the storm of worry twisting inside her. By the 5th hour, Lily could not bear the silence anymore. "Why have you been avoiding me?" Her voice came out hoarse from crying and from going so long without speaking. Vincent did not look at her. He stared straight ahead, at the blank white wall across from them. "Because you remind me of Elena." The answer stole Lily's breath. "In what way?" she asked, her voice no more than a whisper. Silence stretched. Lily thought he would not answer, but then Vincent's voice came, low and hurting. "You look at me as if I am not a monster. Elena looked at me that way too. She was the only one who saw through my darkness and still stayed, and she died for it." Lily did not know what to say. She wanted to tell him she understood, that she was not afraid of him, that she could see both the monster and the man inside him. But before she could open her mouth, Vincent spoke again, his voice colder. "You are wrong. I am a monster, and you should stay away from me." Then he stood and walked off, just as the surgeon appeared at the far end of the hallway. "Miss Morrison," the doctor called, and Lily sprang to her feet, her heart racing. "The surgery was successful. Sophie will be fine," Lily cried. This time the tears were joy. She hugged Maggie, and the two of them cried and laughed in the waiting room, not caring who watched them pass by. Sophie would live. Her sister would be healthy. That was all that mattered. When the emotions finally settled, Lily remembered Vincent. She turned back toward the corner of the hallway where they had been sitting, wanting to thank him. But he was gone. Only a small slip of paper lay on the floor where he had been. Lily picked it up and read, "I told you, we are even." She stared at the neat, sharp handwriting, her finger tracing each line of ink. Even. He said they were even. The debt had been paid, no more ties. But if they were even, why had he been there for 6 hours? A week after Sophie's surgery, things began to shift. Not in any grand or sudden way, but in small, careful changes, like hairline cracks spreading through the wall of ice Vincent had built around himself. He no longer walked out every time Lily entered a room. Instead, he nodded to her. Sometimes he even asked how Sophie was recovering. Sometimes he stayed at the breakfast table a few minutes longer when she appeared, rather than rising immediately. Small moments. But to Lily, they carried more weight than any speech ever could. One afternoon, she was walking in the garden behind the estate when Vincent appeared at her side. He said nothing, only matched her pace between rows of rose bushes, quiet, but no longer tense the way it had been. "This is Elena's garden," Vincent spoke without warning. "She planted every one of these rose bushes." Lily looked at the deep red blooms around her with new eyes. She liked red roses. "No." Vincent shook his head. She hated red, but she said red roses reminded her that beauty and pain always come together. Lily did not know how to answer. She simply walked beside him, feeling the weight of the past he carried on his shoulders. And then that night happened. Lily woke at 2 a.m. with her throat dry. She left her room, intending to go downstairs for water. The mansion lay still in the dark, moonlight slipping through the tall windows, She went down the stairs, crossed the living room, and as she neared the kitchen, she heard it. A low moan, the sound of something striking flesh. Rising from the basement, Lily knew she should turn back. She knew she should not be curious about what happened in the dark parts of this world, but her feet kept moving toward the stairs leading down, as if an invisible force were drawing her. The basement door was cracked open. A pale yellow light leaked through the gap. Lily leaned in and looked, and felt her world collapse beneath her. Vincent stood in the middle of the concrete room, his white shirt speckled with blood. In front of him, a man was tied to a chair, his face swollen, blood spilling from his nose and mouth. Luca stood beside him, holding a pair of pliers. "You have 10 seconds to tell me where Volkov is." Vincent's voice was ice cold, empty of emotion. "I don't know," the man moaned. "I swear I don't know." Vincent nodded to Luca. A scream tore through the room as Luca did something Lily could not bear to watch. She spun and ran up the stairs, one hand clamped over her mouth so she would not make a sound. In the bathroom, she vomited violently into the sink. The images spun behind her eyes. Blood, the screaming, those gray eyes, unmoved. That was Vincent. The man who had sat beside her for 6 hours in the hospital. The man whose voice had turned to pain when he spoke of Elena. The man torturing another human being in the basement. Lily did not sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, she went down to Vincent's office at his summons. The door was already open. Vincent stood at the window, his back to her. "I know you saw." His voice was even. The hallway camera caught everything. Lily stood still, not knowing what to say. Vincent turned around. Gray eyes met hers without flinching. "If you want to leave, then leave. I will not stop you. Sophie's surgery is done. The scholarship money has been transferred. The apartment still belongs to your family. I keep my promises. You do not owe me anything." Lily swallowed hard. "That man," she began, her voice shaking. "Did you kill him yet?" "Not yet," Vincent answered as calmly as if he were discussing the weather. "But I will. After he tells me everything I need to know." Lily felt the nausea rise again. "Who is he?" "He is the one who planted the bomb in Serena's car," Vincent said. And now there was something in his voice. A low, smoldering rage. "He is the reason my sister almost died. The reason my nephew almost never got to be born. The reason you had to miss your exam to save them on a Brooklyn street." Silence filled the room. Lily looked at Vincent, really looked at him. She saw the cruelty in those gray eyes, but she also saw pain, loss, and a love so fierce it could turn a man into a monster to protect the people he loved. "I can't accept this," Lily said, her voice soft but steady. "I will never be able to accept torture or murder." "But I understand." Vincent stared at her as if she had said something impossible. "You're not afraid of me." "I am afraid," Lily admitted. "I was so afraid that last night I threw up for an hour. But I also remember you sitting with me for 6 hours in the hospital. I remember you singing to Marco Jr. I remember you keeping an entire rose garden your wife hated just because she once loved it." She stepped closer. "You are both of those things, Vincent. Monster and man, darkness and light. I can't only see one half and pretend the other half doesn't exist." Vincent did not move as Lily came nearer. Then he lifted his hand and touched her cheek. His palm was warm and rough, a hand that had done terrible things, but in that moment it was brushing her face with a tenderness she did not think he was capable of. Then he kissed her. His mouth pressed against hers, fierce and desperate, as if he were dying of thirst and she was the last drop of water in the desert. Lily kissed him back, her hand clutching the lapel of his jacket, pulling him closer. But then Vincent pushed her away. He stepped back, those gray eyes torn with conflict. "I don't deserve this." His voice went rough. "You shouldn't be near me." Lily held his gaze. "Let me decide that." She turned and walked out of the room, her heart hammering, her lips still warm with the aftertaste of his kiss. She was falling in love with a man whose hands were stained with blood, and she did not know what that meant for her own soul. 20 miles away, in a mansion in the New Jersey suburbs, Nikolai Volkov sat alone in his study. The vodka in his glass had gone warm long ago, but he did not drink. He was staring at an old photograph in his hand. The paper had yellowed with time, the corners curled, but the image was still sharp. 2 young men, both in white shirts, arms thrown over each other's shoulders, grinning at the camera. One was Nikolai, the other was Vincent Caruso, 10 years ago, back when they were brothers, back when they dreamed together of an empire. Volkov remembered Vincent saying it on the night they became partners for the first time, that they would build something great, that no one could touch them, that no one could split them apart. Volkov threw the photo onto the desk and picked up another. His younger brother, Alexei, 23 years old, a gentle smile, clear eyes belonging to a boy who had never truly grown up inside the criminal world. Alexei had nothing to do with Volkov's work. Alexei was only a college student, a younger brother who wanted to become a doctor. But Vincent had killed him, for what he called principle. Volkov ground his teeth as the memory returned, the day he realized Vincent had turned his back on him, the day Vincent declared he would not tolerate human trafficking and ordered the destruction of Volkov's entire operation, the day Alexei died in a firefight he had never belonged to. "You betrayed me first, Caruso," Volkov whispered to Vincent's face in the photograph. "You killed my brother for your damned principle. And now you will pay." He lifted his phone and typed a message. 7 days. Hand over your nephew and your sister, or I will kill everyone you love, one by one, starting with the nurse. He attached the photos. Lily Morrison at the Caruso estate. Lily Morrison at the Manhattan apartment with her sister and her grandmother. Lily Morrison at Mount Sinai, on the day Sophie had surgery. The pictures were taken from far away, but they were clear enough for Vincent to understand what they meant. Volkov knew everything. Volkov could reach anyone Vincent cared about, anytime. He hit send. At the Caruso estate, Vincent's phone vibrated. He read the message and felt the blood in his body turn to ice. Lily's photographs appeared on the screen, one after another, each one a quiet threat. Volkov had found her. "Luca," Vincent called, his voice sharp as a blade. "Emergency meeting. Everyone. Right now." 10 minutes later, the conference room was packed with men in black suits. Luca stood to Vincent's right, his face tight as he listened to the boss lay out the situation. "Triple the security," Vincent ordered. 2 men stay on Lily at all times. 2 men guard the apartment where her grandmother and Sophie are. 4 men protect Serena and Marco Jr. No one leaves the estate without guards. Luca nodded, then hesitated. "Boss, you have to tell Miss Morrison. She has the right to know she is being threatened." "No," Vincent snapped. "So she can be afraid. So she can't sleep because she is worried. I will deal with Volkov before he can touch her. But..." "No but..." Vincent cut him off. "That is an order." The meeting ended, but the tension did not. Vincent stood at the window, staring out at the red rose garden, where he had walked with Lily only days earlier. He would not let Volkov lay a hand on her, not even if it cost Vincent his own life. The next day, Lily realized something was wrong. Vincent did not appear at breakfast. He did not walk in the garden. When she happened to pass him in the hallway, he only gave a cold nod and moved on quickly, as if their kiss had never happened. The wall of ice was back, colder than before. And that was not all. The number of guards around Lily increased noticeably. Every time she left her room, 2 men in black followed her like a shadow given flesh. When she went to visit Sophie at the apartment, she saw 4 more posted in the hallway. "What is going on?" Lily asked Serena, as they sat in Serena's room, with Marco Jr. asleep in the crib beside them. "Why are there suddenly guards everywhere?" Serena shook her head, her eyes anxious too. "I do not know. Vincent has not told me anything, but I feel something is wrong. He is under a lot of strain." Lily looked out the window, where a black car was parked outside the gate. She did not know who was inside. She did not know whether they were protecting her or watching her. She did not know why Vincent had rebuilt the wall between them overnight. She did not know she was in the sights of a blood-hungry man. 7 days. The clock had begun to count down, and Lily was the only one who did not know. The 5th day since the ultimatum was sent, Sophie had recovered enough to come to the Caruso estate to visit her sister. The 8-year-old ran through the vast garden, soaking up clean air and warm sunlight she had never truly had back in their old Brooklyn apartment. Lily stood at the window in Serena's room, smiling as she watched her little sister chase a butterfly between the rose beds. Sophie stopped near the corner of the garden when she heard a familiar voice. "Uncle Luca." She started to run over to greet him, but slowed when she saw the tension in his face. Luca was on the phone, his back turned to her, his voice a whisper that still carried enough for Sophie to catch a few words. "Yes, she will go to the hospital, alone. I will make sure of it." Sophie did not understand who Luca was talking about. She only knew there was something strange in his tone, something that made her skin prickle with discomfort. Luca turned and saw Sophie standing there. For a moment his expression flickered with alarm, then settled back into normal. "Did you hear anything?" Sophie shook her head, innocent. "I just wanted to say hi." Luca nodded, patted her head lightly, and walked away quickly, leaving Sophie standing alone among the flowers. That night, when Lily brought Sophie back to the apartment, the little girl told her what she had heard. Sophie said that earlier she had seen Uncle Luca talking on the phone, that he was talking about Lily, saying someone would go to the hospital alone. Lily's hands paused in the middle of buttoning Sophie's shirt. Luca was talking about me. Did you hear clearly? Sophie frowned, trying to remember. She was not sure. But she heard the word, hospital, and alone. And Luca looked really tense. Lily meant to ask more, but Maggie called them both to dinner. Lily told herself she would ask Luca the next day. Yet Sophie's story stayed in her mind all night like a splinter. The next morning, as Lily was getting ready to go to the Caruso estate, her phone rang, an unknown number. She answered, Miss Morrison. A woman's voice trembled on the line, broken by sobs. I am Isabella, Luca's sister. Please save me. Lily went still. Luca's sister. They have me, the voice continued, growing more frantic by the second. They said if my brother does not follow orders, they will kill me. Behind her words, Lily heard blows landing, screams, a man cursing in Russian. Please come! The old warehouse at Pier 7. Do not tell anyone. If you bring someone else, they will kill me immediately. Please. The call cut off. Lily stared at her phone screen, her heart hammering out of control. What Sophie had said the night before suddenly made sense. Luca speaking tensely on the phone. Someone would go to the hospital alone. Pier 7. This could be a trap. Lily's reason screamed it at her. Everything fit too neatly. The call arriving at the perfect moment. The demand that she come alone. Do not tell anyone. Every sign of a trap. But what if it is real? Another voice whispered inside her. What if Isabella really has been taken? What if she really will die because Lily does not go? Lily remembered that day. The day she stood outside the testing center with her exam ticket in her hand. The day she saw Serena bleeding in the crushed Maserati. She had chosen to save a stranger instead of her own future. She could not change that part of herself. But she was not stupid either. Lily took out her phone and typed a message to Vincent. Someone called me and said she is Luca's sister, Isabella. She said she is being held at the warehouse on Pier 7. I am going to check. If you are reading this, I may have been wrong. She set the message to send in 30 minutes. If she did not come back to cancel it, it would go out on its own. At least Vincent would know where she was. Pier 7 lay at the edge of the city, a desolate stretch of abandoned warehouses and rusted containers. Lily took a taxi there, her heart pounding with every passing minute. She stepped out and looked around. No one, only the sea wind slipping through gaps in the metal, making an eerie sound like whispers from ghosts. Isabella, Lily called, her voice echoing in the emptiness. Are you here? No answer came. Lily moved deeper into the warehouse, the smell of salt and rusted metal filling her lungs. Her instincts screamed that something was wrong. She turned to run back outside, and then felt a needle jab into her neck. The world began to spin. Lily's knees buckled. Before darkness swallowed her whole, she saw a figure step out from the corner of the warehouse. Luca. He stood there with his head lowered, unable to meet her eyes. I'm sorry. Luca's voice broke. They have my sister. I had no choice. And then everything fell into black. 30 minutes later, Vincent's phone vibrated. He read the message and felt the blood in his body freeze, then boil into fury. Pier 7, Luca's sister, Isabella. Vincent turned to look at Luca standing a few meters away. His most trusted man, the one who had been at his side for 10 years, the one he trusted like a brother. Luca saw Vincent's expression and understood. He began to tremble, stepping back, his face drained white. Boss, I can explain. Vincent did not say a word. He drew his gun and aimed it straight at Luca's head. You have 5 seconds to explain. Lily woke with an ache spreading through her entire body. Her eyes took a few seconds to adjust to the dim light of the overhead bulb. The room was cold, concrete, windowless, the smell of damp and rust pressing into her nose. She tried to move and realized both hands were chained to a metal chair bolted to the floor. Panic surged in her chest, but Lily forced herself to breathe deep. She was a nursing student. She had been trained to stay calm in emergencies. She would not let fear drive her. The iron door opened with a harsh squeal. A man stepped in, tall, his white-gray hair slicked back, his face carved with a web of scars like a map of a life spent in violence. His pale blue eyes studied her with a strange curiosity rather than hatred. Nikolai Volkov. Lily did not need an introduction to know who he was. Vincent's enemy. The man who wanted the entire Caruso family dead. But instead of torturing her right away the way she expected, Volkov dragged a chair over and sat across from her, as if they were about to have an intimate conversation over tea. Do you know why you are here? His voice was low and even, edged with a Russian cadence. Not because you love Vincent. Because you are like Elena, and like my wife. Lily said nothing, only watched him with guarded eyes. Women like you, Volkov went on, his gaze drifting as if he were staring into the past. You see the person inside the monster. You believe love can redeem people who have already lost their souls. He pulled an old photograph from his pocket and held it out for Lily to see. In the picture, 2 young men were laughing, arms slung over each other's shoulders. Did you know he was once my friend? Volkov asked. We built everything together. From 2 street kids into the 2 most powerful bosses in New York. We were brothers. His voice turned bitter. Then he found out I trafficked people. He called it principle. I called it business. He threw me out of the organization, and in the war that followed, he killed my brother. Alexei was 23. He had nothing to do with any of it. He only wanted to be a doctor. Volkov clenched his jaw. My wife died of illness, but my brother died because Vincent killed him. And now I am only taking back what he took from me. Lily stayed quiet for a long moment, meeting Volkov's eyes without flinching. Then she spoke, her voice so calm it surprised even her. You trafficked human beings, children, women. You sold them like merchandise. Vincent was right to stop you. The slap hit like thunder. Lily's head snapped to the side, her cheek burning, the taste of blood blooming in her mouth. You have no right to judge me, Volkov roared, his face flushed with fury. Lily slowly turned her head back, looking straight at him, not a single tear. You can kill me. Her voice was ice cold, but you will never be a victim. You are a perpetrator who chooses to blame someone else because you refuse to take responsibility for your own crimes. Volkov stared at her, pale blue eyes lit with something that looked like reluctant respect. You really are like Elena, he said, stubborn to the very end. A shame. He stood and walked out, leaving Lily alone in the frigid room. But Lily did not waste time on self-pity. She began to observe. 2 guards stood outside the door, coming in now and then to check on her. One of them kept scratching his neck and arms, his skin flushed and blotchy. An allergy, Lily recognized at once. Possibly a food allergy. When one of them brought in a sandwich for her to eat, Lily ate slowly, studying what was in it. Bread, cold cuts, vegetables, and peanut butter. She deliberately let a piece of the sandwich fall onto her thigh, pretending clumsiness because her hands were chained. When the guard was not paying attention, she picked up the peanut-smeared bit and hid it in her palm. If the other man was allergic to peanuts, this might be the only weapon she had. All she needed was an opening. Hours later, Volkov returned with a camera. He switched it on and pointed it at Lily. Caruso, Volkov said into the lens. 24 hours. Come alone. Or she dies. He swung the camera toward Lily, wanting to capture her crying, begging. But Lily did not cry. She did not beg. She only stared straight into the lens with eyes cold as steel, as if sending Vincent a silent message. I am not afraid. I will not break. Come. In her palm, she kept the peanut piece clenched tight. At the Caruso estate, Luca knelt on the floor, Vincent's gun still aimed at his head. 5 seconds stretched like 5 centuries. My sister, Luca forced out, his voice breaking. Isabella. They took her 2 weeks ago. They send me a video of her being tortured every day. They said if I did not follow orders, they would mail me her body piece by piece. I had no choice. Vincent did not lower the gun. His gray eyes burned with fury and pain. You could have told me, his voice tightening. 10 years, Luca. 10 years you stood by me. I treated you like a brother, and you could not trust me enough to tell me the truth. Luca lifted his head, tears sliding down a face made hard by years. And what would you have done? He asked, bitterness cutting through him. Sacrifice Lily to save my sister. Would you trade the woman you love to save the sister of a man who works for you? Silence held the room. Vincent knew Luca was right. If forced to choose between Lily and Isabella, he would choose Lily, and Luca knew that. That was why he had not spoken. The gun lowered, slowly. We will save them both, Vincent said, his voice cold as steel. But you owe me a life. If Lily has so much as a scratch, you will pay. Do you understand? Luca nodded and rose on shaking legs. I will do anything. The plan was drawn up within 10 minutes. Vincent would walk into Volkov's den alone, as demanded. Luca, who knew the layout of Volkov's base from the days when the 2 crews had still been allies, would lead the strike team in through the back entrance. Serena stayed at the estate with Sophie and Marco Jr., protected by a dedicated unit of guards. At the same time, in Volkov's warehouse, Lily waited for an opening. The door swung open and the guard with the flushed skin stepped inside, a bottle of water in his hand. Drink, he barked, pushing the bottle toward Lily's mouth. She pretended to lower her head to sip, then suddenly jerked to the side as if she had choked. In that movement, she opened her palm and flung the peanut piece straight into his face. The guard inhaled in reflex, startled, and the peanut flew into his nose. The reaction came almost at once. His face reddened, then swelled. He began to wheeze, clutching at a throat that was closing fast. Anaphylactic shock, Lily said flatly. He has a severe peanut allergy. His airway will seal shut completely within 3 minutes. Without epinephrine, he will die. The other guard panicked, staring at his partner collapsing onto the floor, his face turning bluish from lack of oxygen. He ran to the door, shouting for help, forgetting that Lily was still chained inside the room. But when he opened the door, he opened a chance for Lily too. In the earlier chaos, Lily had worked at the cuffs by twisting her wrist again and again, scraping her skin raw until it bled, and she did not care. When the guard turned his back, she yanked one last time, and one hand slipped free. She tore the chain from her other wrist and lunged for the doorway. The guard spun back just as Lily drove her foot hard into his knee. He screamed and went down, and Lily ran into the corridor. Left, right. She did not know the way. She only ran, but she did not get far. Volkov stood at the end of the hall, blocking her path. He began to clap slowly, a smile on his mouth as cold as ice. Impressive, he said. Elena tried to run like that too. She failed. And you will fail as well. He drew his gun and aimed it at Lily's head. At that exact moment, the main doors of the warehouse burst open. Vincent Caruso stepped inside, alone, no visible weapon in his hands. His gray eyes found Lily instantly, and she saw the storm roaring behind them. Let her go, Vincent said, his voice strangely calm. You want me? You have me. Volkov laughed, dragged Lily back against him, and pressed the gun barrel to her temple. I want you to watch her die first, the way you watched Elena die, the way I watched Alexei die. An eye for an eye, Caruso. Vincent did not look at Volkov. He looked at Lily, and in those cold gray eyes, she saw something she had never seen there before. Fear. Not fear of dying, fear of losing her. Then the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the warehouse in a single instant. A gunshot cracked from behind. From the back entrance where Luca had led the strike team in, Lily felt Volkov falter for a heartbeat, and she threw herself sideways. A powerful hand grabbed her, yanked her down to the floor, and covered her with a body. The familiar scent of expensive cologne, the familiar heat. Vincent. Gunfire erupted everywhere. Shouts. Glass breaking. Bullets tearing through metal. Lily could not see a thing in the black. Only the weight of Vincent over her, shielding her from every round flying through the air. Then his mouth came close to her ear, and he whispered through the chaos. I came. I am here. You are safe now. For the first time since she was taken, Lily cried. At the same time, back at the Caruso estate, Serena was sitting in the living room with Sophie and Marco Jr. The 8-year-old was reading a story to the baby, her clear young voice floating through a hush so tight it felt like it could choke you. Serena knew something was happening. Vincent had left with a look on his face she had seen only once before, the day Marco was killed. A phone vibrated on the coffee table. Serena recognized it as Luca's, left behind in the rush when he went after Vincent. She meant to ignore it, but the screen lit with a message that froze her in place. The nurse has been taken. Phase 2, complete. Awaiting further orders. Serena's hands shook as she unlocked the phone. There was no passcode, and what she read made the world fall out from under her. Hundreds of messages between Luca and an unknown number. Reports on Lily's schedule. Stolen photos of her family. The kidnapping plan. And one line from 2 weeks earlier. Isabella is with us. Follow orders or she dies. Luca was a spy. The man her brother trusted most had betrayed them. Serena wanted to scream, but she could not. Sophie was here. Marco Jr. was asleep. She had to stay calm. She had to believe Vincent could handle it. 5 years ago she had lost Marco to this war. She could not lose anyone else. At the warehouse, the gunfire had stopped. The darkness thinned when someone switched on the backup lights. Lily lay on the floor with Vincent still covering her. His shirt soaked through with blood, though she did not know whose it was. Around them, Volkov's men were sprawled everywhere, some dead, some groaning with injuries. Luca stood nearby, his gun still in his hand, his face smeared with blood and dust. But Volkov was gone. In the chaos, he had escaped. Vincent let out a raw sound when he realized his enemy had gotten away, but when he looked down at Lily in his arms, the fury eased. She was safe. That was what mattered most. They returned to the estate. Lily was brought to a room and the Caruso family's private doctor came to examine her. A few bruises, scratches, and the shock that would take longer to heal, but nothing physically severe. Sophie ran to her sister and clung to her, sobbing. Maggie held Lily's hand with trembling fingers, and Serena stood in the doorway with eyes full of 1,000 questions she was afraid to ask. Night fell. When everyone else had finally gone to sleep, Vincent sat beside Lily's bed. Moonlight slipped through the window, laying bands of shadow and silver across his face. "You need to know the truth," Vincent said, his voice weary, lower than she had ever heard it. "About me, about Volkov, about everything." Lily said nothing, only watched him and waited. 5 years ago, Volkov and I were partners, Vincent began. "We built this empire together. I treated him like blood, then I discovered what he was doing. Not drugs or weapons, people, children, babies taken from poor countries and sold to wealthy men who preyed on them." Vincent's voice caught. I confronted him. He said it was business. I said it was a line I would never cross. We went to war, and in that war, his brother died. He looked down at his own hands. Alexei, 23, he had nothing to do with any of it, but he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and my finger pulled the trigger. I killed an innocent boy because of my war. Heavy silence settled over the room. Volkov took revenge, Vincent continued. He killed Elena, my wife, the love of my life. Then he killed Marco, Serena's husband. And now he almost killed you. Vincent lifted his eyes to Lily, gray and aching. "I am not innocent in this war, Lily. I started it. Elena died because of me. Marco died because of me. You almost died because of me. It is all my fault." Lily was quiet for a long time. She looked at the man in front of her. The man who had killed. The man who had started a bloody war. The man whose choices had led to the deaths of innocent people. And also the man who had stopped a trafficker of children. "You have killed," she said, her voice barely more than breath. "You started this war. You have blood on your hands." Vincent nodded, accepting the truth without excuse. "But you also stopped a man who sold children," Lily went on. "You saved those babies from a fate beyond horror. You protect your family at any cost." She reached up and touched his face. "I do not know whether that makes you a hero or a monster. Maybe both. But I choose to stay. I choose you." A tear slid down Vincent's cheek. Then another. Then more. For the first time since Elena died, the most powerful mafia boss in New York cried. Not from weakness, but because, after years of freezing his heart shut, someone had finally seen all of his darkness and still chosen to remain. Lily pulled Vincent into her arms, letting him cry against her shoulder, letting him finally set down the weight he had carried for 5 years. "We will end this," she whispered into his ear. "Together." 3 days passed in tension and waiting. Vincent's intelligence network worked without rest, combing the city for any trace of Volkov. At last, on the 3rd night, the word came. Volkov was hiding in an abandoned factory on the outskirts of Newark, less than 20 miles from the state line. He was preparing to run to Europe. Vincent summoned his team to the conference room. The factory map was spread across the table, entry points marked in red ink. "Tonight," Vincent said, his voice cold as steel. "We end this tonight." Luca stood in the corner, silent through the entire meeting. When the men began checking weapons, he stepped in front of Vincent. "Let me go with you," Luca said, his eyes hard with purpose. "I owe you. I owe Lily. I need to be there." Vincent looked at the man who had betrayed him. 10 years of loyalty, 1 betrayal, and a life saved when Luca led the team into the warehouse in time. "You do not have to prove anything," Vincent said. "You paid for it when you saved Lily." "No," Luca shook his head. "I need to prove it to myself. I need to see the man who took my sister die. I need to know I did the right thing at the last moment." Silence held between them. Then Vincent nodded. "Fine, but you stay behind me. No heroics." The Caruso team moved through the night like ghosts. 20 men, fully armed, closing in on the abandoned factory from several directions. Vincent led the main unit, Luca close behind. "Isabella is in there," Luca whispered as they approached the back entrance. "I can feel it." The signal was given. The door blew inward, and hell opened. Gunfire thundered through the building, muzzle flashes cutting the darkness, screams, bodies dropping. Volkov's men were more numerous than expected, but Vincent's crew was better trained, more ruthless, and driven by something fiercer than fear. They pushed room by room, clearing every pocket of resistance. Luca found Isabella in a second-floor room. She was chained to the wall, thin and bruised from 2 weeks of captivity, but alive. "Sister." Luca wrapped his arms around her, tears running down the face that years had hardened. I am sorry. I am sorry for everything. Isabella sobbed against her brother's chest. I knew you would come. I knew you would not leave me. Luca handed her to one of the men to get her out safely, then followed Vincent deeper into the factory. Volkov was somewhere ahead, and tonight, only one of them would walk out. Vincent found Volkov in the largest room in the factory, the place that had once been the main production floor. His enemy stood in the center, alone, gun in hand, waiting. You finally came, Volkov said, a cold smile on his mouth. I knew you would not let me escape. Vincent stepped in, gun aimed straight at Volkov. You could have stopped. You could have accepted defeat and disappeared. But you chose to threaten my family. You chose to kidnap the woman I love. You signed your own death sentence. Volkov laughed, the sound echoing through the emptiness. Killing me will not change anything. You are still the man who killed my brother. You are still the man who started all of this. You will live with that guilt for the rest of your life. I know, Vincent said, his voice steady. I will live with it forever. I will see Alexei's face every night when I close my eyes. I will carry that guilt until I die. He took one more step forward. But you trafficked children. You sold innocent babies to men who prey on them. You chose to become a monster. I chose to stop you. And if I had to do it again, I would choose the same. Volkov bared his teeth, pale blue eyes burning with hate. Then go to hell with me. He raised his gun and pulled the trigger. Vincent saw the barrel turn toward him, but he could not move in time. The world slowed. The bullet tore through the air toward him. Then a body surged between them. Luca. The round punched through Luca's chest. He went down, blood bursting from the wound. But in the heartbeat of Volkov's shock, Vincent pulled his own trigger. One shot, dead center of Volkov's forehead. The enemy dropped, pale blue eyes still wide in death, the cold smile frozen on his mouth forever. But Vincent did not look at Volkov's body. He threw himself down beside Luca, fell to his knees, and lifted Luca's head. Blood was spreading across the concrete, soaking into both their clothes. You did not have to do that, Vincent said, his voice breaking. You idiot, Luca. Why did you jump in? Luca smiled, blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. Because I owed you a life. Remember. I betrayed you once. But I am not letting you die. Do not talk. Vincent pressed his hand to the wound, but the blood kept coming. Unstoppable. I will call a doctor. You will be fine. They both knew it was a lie. The bullet had gone through his heart. No one could save Luca. Tell Isabella, Luca whispered, his voice already fading. Tell her I am sorry. Tell her I love her. And tell Lily. He coughed blood. Tell her I am sorry for everything. I will tell them, Vincent promised, tears running down his face. I swear I will tell them. Luca's smile lingered as his eyes began to blur. 10 years. I followed you for 10 years. They were the best 10 years of my life. Thank you, boss. Thank you for everything. Then Luca's eyes closed. His hand fell slack, and he was gone. Vincent held the body of the man who had betrayed him, and then saved him. And he let out a howl. The sound echoed through the ruined factory, mixed with the stink of gunpowder and blood. Victory, but not without loss. Luca's funeral took place on a crisp autumn afternoon. The cemetery lay on the outskirts of New York, where rows of maples were turning red and gold, as if nature itself were escorting a departed soul to rest. There was no crowd, no reporters. Only the closest people stood around the grave in a solemn hush. Isabella stood beside her brother's coffin, her face still thin from 2 weeks of captivity, now hollowed further by grief. She cried without sound, tears sliding down her cheeks in quiet streams that seemed as if they would never run dry. Lily stood beside her, one arm around the young woman's shoulders, saying nothing because she knew there were no words that could soften a pain like this. She understood what it meant to lose someone. She understood that emptiness. Vincent stood at the head of the grave, his face carved from stone, yet his gray eyes held an entire ocean of sorrow. When the prayers were finished, he stepped closer to the coffin and rested his hand on the polished oak lid. You were the worst traitor I ever knew, Vincent said, his voice low and rough, and you were the most loyal friend. I will not forget what you did, either of those things. The coffin was lowered, the earth was shoveled in, and Luca Benedetti was laid to rest forever. 3 months passed. Autumn gave way to winter, and winter slowly softened into spring. The wound was still there, but it had begun to close. Life moved forward, the way it always did. Vincent and Lily's wedding took place on a warm spring day, when the roses in the garden began to bloom again. It was not grand the way people might expect for the wedding of the most powerful mafia boss in New York. There were no hundreds of guests, no long line of limousines, only family. Serena held Marco Jr. in her arms, the baby now old enough to smile, reaching for everyone with small, eager hands. Sophie stood beside Maggie, fully healthy after her surgery now, cheeks rosy, eyes bright with light. Isabella was there too, still grieving, but stronger, having found a reason to keep living. They stood in the red rose garden, where Elena had planted every bush, where now there was also a small headstone bearing the name Luca Benedetti and the words, "A loyal friend." Vincent faced Lily, both of them dressed simply, but with quiet formality. There was no priest, no ornate ritual. Only them and their vows. "I will not promise I will always be right," Vincent said, his voice trembling slightly with feeling. "I will not promise I will never hurt you. I will not promise I will be the perfect man you deserve. But I promise I will always try to be worthy of you, try to become better every day, try to love you with everything I have." Lily smiled, tears glittering in her blue eyes. "I do not love you because you are perfect," she replied. "I love you because you choose to be better, because you look into your own darkness and do not run, because you carry guilt and still try to do what is right. I choose you, Vincent Caruso, with all your scars and all your shadows." They kissed in the rose garden under warm spring sun, beside the people they loved and the people they had lost. On their wedding night, they stood on the mansion balcony, looking out at the city glittering with lights below. A soft wind moved through, carrying the scent of roses from the garden. "Luca should have been here," Vincent said, his voice dropping. "He should have been standing beside me today." Lily rested her head on her husband's shoulder. "He is here, in his own way," she said softly. "In the garden, in our memories, in the sister he sacrificed himself to protect." Silence settled for a long moment, but it was a peaceful silence now, not heavy. "Do you regret it?" Vincent asked, turning to look at her. "Missing your exam that day. If you had not stopped to save Serena, you would never have entered this world. You would never have suffered what you suffered." Lily thought for a moment before answering. "Every choice has a cost," she said, "and I paid a high price for that choice. But no, I do not regret it, because if I had not stopped, I would not have you. Not this family. Not Sophie healthy beside me." She lifted her gaze to his. "Sometimes the best things happen when we let go of what we think we need. They did not have a perfect fairy tale ending. They had a real ending, with scars that would never fade, with losses that could never be repaid, with hard lessons carved deep into bone. And that was what true love was." 5 years later, life had changed completely. Lily was now Lily Caruso, doctor of nursing practice, director of the Caruso Foundation for Health, also known by its full name as the Luca Benedetti Memorial Foundation, created to honor the man who gave his life to save Vincent in the final battle against Volkov. The foundation provided medical scholarships for poor students with difficult circumstances, built free clinics in the slums, and brought hope to thousands of people who could not afford medical care. Sophie was now 13, a beautiful, healthy young girl with a dream of becoming an advanced nurse practitioner like her sister. She often said she wanted to be a healer, the way Lily had been for her. Vincent had moved fully into legitimate business, leaving the underworld behind and building a new empire based on real estate and investment. He was still a powerful man, but now that power was used to build instead of destroy. And most of all, they had Elena Rose Caruso, their 3-year-old daughter with her father's gray eyes and her mother's warm smile. The child had been named for Vincent's late wife, as a way to remember her, and also as a promise that love would never die. Isabella, Luca's sister, now worked for the foundation as a way to make amends for what had happened and to carry on her brother's legacy. That morning, Lily drove to work the way she did every day. The road took her past the Metropolitan Nursing Exam Center, where 5 years earlier she had stood with her test ticket in hand and a decision that would change her life forever. She slowed when she saw what was happening. A young woman, about 22, long black hair streaming behind her, was rushing toward the exam center with a ticket in her hand. On the sidewalk nearby, an old man had fallen, groceries scattered everywhere. He tried to stand, but he could not. Pedestrians walked past, eyes glued to their phones, no one stopping. The young woman saw him too. She stopped in the middle of the street, looked down at the ticket in her hand, then looked toward the man who needed help. The struggle showed plainly on her face. Lily parked and walked closer. "What is your name?" Lily asked gently. The young woman startled and turned. Anna Reyes. I am going to be late for my exam." Lily smiled, a smile carrying 1,000 memories. "I know. I stood here exactly like you 5 years ago. I had a ticket in my hand too. I had a future in front of me, and I saw someone who needed help." Anna stared at her with wide eyes. "Then what did you do?" "I skipped the exam," Lily said. "I lost the future I thought I needed, but I found something better." She paused, her gaze drifting. "But I also lost my husband's closest friend. I saw terrible things. I paid a heavy price for that decision." "Every choice has a cost, Anna. The question is, which cost are you willing to pay?" Anna looked down at the ticket in her hand, then back at the old man still lying on the sidewalk. No one was helping him. No one cared. She drew a deep breath. Then she tore the ticket in half and ran to the man who needed help. Lily watched her, a smile spreading across her face. She took out her phone and called Vincent. "Honey, I think I just found the next Luca Benedetti scholarship recipient. Some cycles are meant to continue. Some sacrifices are never forgotten. Some moments of kindness change the entire world. And sometimes the best things happen when we choose mercy over ambition." Lily and Vincent's story was proof of a simple but profound truth. In life, we can't always choose our circumstances, but we can always choose how we face them. Kindness can come from the most unexpected places, and redemption can be found even in the deepest darkness. Each of us carries both light and shadow, and what matters is not that we are perfect, but that we choose to become better every day. If this story touched your heart, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you do not miss more moving stories like this. Share this video with the people you love, with anyone who needs to hear that redemption is always possible and true love is worth fighting for. We would love to know how you felt about this story. Have you ever stood at a crossroads like Lily? Do you believe kindness can change a person's life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We are always listening to what is deepest in your heart. Thank you for staying with us through this long story. We wish everyone watching this video good health, a joyful life, and peace in every day. Remember, sometimes the greatest miracles happen